Television practices. Okay. Normal TV used to be fast scan. Followed the NTSC, the National Television Standards Committee protocols. And then later came digital TV, which has basically taken over. Are they still transmitting analog fast scan? And in the digital world, they have this called Digital Video Broadcasting Terrestrial. And there's also a second one, version 2 or something, or TR, some. Amateurs are using slow scan TV, which is a different standard. And they can also transmit color. We'll talk a little bit about the modes. And then lastly, we'll talk about one question on DRM, which I'm sure Ed wants to know all about.
It's not digital rights management.
No, it's not digital rights management. But if you just Google DRM, that's probably all you'll find. You need to Google DRM radio or broadcast. So most TVs either sent fast scan or slow scan. Mostly amateurs are slow scan nowadays. I talked about NTSC. Seemed like they dropped that. There used to be a question where you had to know what NTSC stood for. The fast scan or old TV had 525 horizontal lines divided up into 2 frames, odd and even, and you interlace between them. So you do one frame, which was all the odd lines, and one frame, which was all the even lines. And in between was a vertical intervals period where they could actually stick in some things like text and other stuff that had nothing to do with the picture. And then there was the front porch and the back porch. I vaguely remember all that stuff, and because I built a Heathkit TV. Fast scan TV for amateur, well, I guess for anybody, is in the 70 centimeter band between channels 13 and 14. So we're kind of sharing that broadcast area. Remember, broadcast channels, channel 2 was down 500. Huh?
Yeah, it's very about 6 meters. 60 some megahertz.
Yeah, I think it's a little higher, somewhere in that, around 100 or so, yeah. And went all the way up to, I don't know.
Bob, are you going to show us slides or just this file directory?
Uh-oh.
Used to be in the
Are you not seeing it?
No, all I'm seeing is your directory of files.
Okay.
Now I see your smiling face.
We'll try it again.
There
What do
we
you got
go.
now?
Best scan.
Okay. We didn't miss much. You need me to back up?
No.
Okay.
I'll catch up to it on a download.
It was just word slides, stuff we talked about.
Yeah, I heard it.
So it has a 6 megahertz wide signal, and you can pick it up with a standard, if you can find an old analog TV. Get rid of this guy again. So how many horizontal lines make up a fast scan NTSC TV frame?
Chuck,
How is an interlaced scanning pattern generated in a fast scan TV system? What technique allows commercial analog TV receivers to be used for fast scan TV operations on the 70 centimeter band? You're in between 12 and 13. So that's what it's set up for. If you can actually tune your analog TV in between channels. The NTSC signals were amplitude modulated. They used FM for the voice, but the AM for the picture. And they used a technique called vestigial sideband modulation, where instead of single sideband, they send one sideband and part of another sideband, which somehow helps with the demodulation. And it's less bandwidth than sending both sidebands. I don't know why they don't just do one sideband though, and carrier. Because they need the carrier. But I guess every little bit of bandwidth helps. So what is vestigial sideband modulation? Yeah, vestigial means a portion. Like a vestigial tail with some creatures that have a little bit of a tail. Like even humans have a tailbone. Huh? Which of the following describes the use of vestigial sideband in analog fast scan TV transmissions? High fidelity? Oh, I guess some people apparently are using the digital modes. And the kind of standard is this digital video broadcast terrestrial, or DVB-T. Apparently, it's not been picked up in the United States. So why do we care?
So, we don't have any questions about it.
Well, let's see. I bet because it's red, there's a question. It uses different modulation methods from 16 QAM to 64 QAM, which are, I think, the same kind of modes that cell phones use, I believe, and QPSK, which is quadrature phase shift keying, where it doesn't mean 90 degrees, it means 4. Well, true, but it's 90, 180, 270.
Yes, K9?
I am Q.
Correct.
Which types of modulation are used for amateur television DVB-T signals? I don't know what ook is, maybe it doesn't exist. They wouldn't do that, would they?
No,
Uh, the one thing it does is use forward error correction, which you didn't have on your analog. And when the signal got crappy, you saw noise. They have this thing where they call it a coding rate, which is the proportion of the data to the error correct or forward error correcting code. So if it's a coding rate of 3/4, it means 75% or 3/4 of the signal is going to be data, and 25% is going to be forward error correcting code. So you have a choice anywhere from half up to 7/8. So at 7/8, you wouldn't have much of a error correcting code. And half is fairly inefficient, more solid.
solid.
In digital television, what does a coding rate of 3/4 mean? Oops. Yeah. Slow scan, typically done in HF on sideband. So you can do it in the phone portions of the bands where you have permission. I guess that assumes a technician can do it on 10 meters, right? The tone frequency that gets sent as part of the sideband signal is equivalent to the old luminance, which was the brightness of the black and white signal. And then they have a specific tone that gets sent, which is essentially start a new picture line or a new line like in text. What aspect of analog slow scan television signal encodes the brightness of the picture? Tone frequency. It's the frequency of the tone. And there's one specific one that says start a new line. I don't know what it is, but what signals SSTV receiving software to begin a new picture line? You can transmit color on slow scan, and it sends the color lines sequentially, as opposed to doing any kind of interlace or anything. So every transmission, I guess, is a different color line. I've not really looked into how it works, but it's kind of equivalent to what you called chroma on analog TV. That was the color burst. How is color information sent in analog single slow scan TV? There's different modes, and they use the VIS or vertical interval signaling space in between the frames to transmit a code that identifies to the receiving station what the mode is. So what is the function of the vertical interval signaling code sent as part of a single, I want a single sideband, a slow scan TV? And digital radio mondial, DL, I don't know how you pronounce it. They have it in here because you can use it to send and receive slow scan TV. All you need is a single sideband receiver and a computer that's capable of decoding the slow scan TV signal in DRM mode. What software that is, I have no idea. As far as I know, there's no DRM broadcast in the United States. If I recall, this was developed by some broadcast company in India as a replacement for AM broadcast. This is basically digital broadcast. And you can buy DRM transmitters. If you look it up on the internet, there's places that sell them, 50 kilowatts and 100 kilowatts, fairly good sized transmitters. But in order to use a regular amateur radio, you have to have the capability to decode it. Either you got to have a hardware box as an add-on, or you got to have software and a computer to do it, so that the computer is actually doing the reception. You're just passing through the signal as part of single sideband. So what kind of receiver can be used to receive and decode slow scan TV using DRM protocol? Why that's in there, I have no idea. It's one of several. Not sure what the point was. We talked fast scan. It was 525 lines. They do odd, and then they do even, and do different fields as part of a frame. You can do it on the 70 centimeter band, whatever frequencies between channel 12 and 13. Even receive it on an analog commercial TV if you still had one. Actually, I do have one. I think it even works.
They actually have a flat one.
Huh?
There's that time when you have a flat pan.
Oh, this is a tube. I mean, it's a real. We talked vestigial sideband, where they transmit one full sideband and a portion of the other sideband to reduce the bandwidth, and it helps the fidelity of the signal, I guess, because you got a little more information. You got 1 point something sidebands. Digital TV uses the digital video broadcast terrestrial standard. It uses QAM and QPSK modulation, and they have a coding rate you specify, which is the ratio of data to forward error correcting code. And slow scan, you send brightness information as a tone frequency. A new line as a specific tone frequency. And I'm assuming on the brightness, as the frequency varies, that's how you vary the brightness, either going higher or lower, but I'm just assuming. They send color lines sequentially. They use the vertical interval period to identify the mode. And digital radio, however you pronounce it, mondial, can be used to send and receive slow scan TV.